What's up? What's up? Carmine Disco here, the Shark Tank Effect. We are in the house, got an awesome season going on. We are continuing with great guests, Shark Tank winners, people have been on Shark Tank, want to get on Shark Tank, products that have been on Shark Tank, some really cool stuff. What I love about this is we're getting the inside story when people are diving into the tank. Let's bring on the king of manufacturing, Shark Tank winner, Mr. Christopher Guerrera. What's up?
Hey, Carmine, how's it going? Yeah, we're getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of downloads. We're getting, over 100,000 downloads a week. So the information is great, right? It's helping all the entrepreneurs and inventors out there that really don't truly understand how to launch a product and or get it licensed. Shark Tank's a whole different game, right? You have to really be ready to get in front of an investor group like that. But Carmine, let's talk about what we got coming up. Super Zoo, right? Our next big show is Super Zoo in August. Yeah. Interesting. It's sold out. Like the entire show is sold out. The emerging section, which is what we do, right? The inventors corners. They call it emerging brands. You have a pet product and you want to pitch it to the pros. We have a whole panel of experts, Shark Tank winners, QVC, HSN, All-Star Products, Disney folks, Good Morning America, Today Show, you name it, we have it. And it's usually closed off if you don't have a booth. Yep. But guess what? We opened it up this year. Super Zoo allowed it so that we're going to have webinars now to sign up so that you can still be part of the pitch to the pro panel. It'll be the first time ever.
How the hell did you get them to open that up, dude? It's like a lock and key with that show. That show's insane. What the hell did you do?
I have a waiting list. Isn't that crazy? They have to get bigger space for next year. They've already got dates for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
We offer, you see what we offer, right? All the shows are loving what we're doing. We're giving education that you would pay thousands of dollars for at entry-level cost. In many cases, it's a booth. But in this case, they sold out, right? They ran out of booths. They sold over 100 booths.
Yep.
So they still have a waiting list of 180 companies, and I think 50 of those are emerging brands. So why leave them in the back? We can still give them an opportunity to pitch and get in front of people. And as you saw at the other shows, they're making deals, right? Home Depot, Lowe's, All-Star Products, right? They're getting licensing deals. They're getting an opportunity to put the product in the store, or they're getting to see positive and critique of their product and packaging to make it better to get it seen. So yeah, it's this whole opportunity and educational is evolving into something incredibly big. Our shows are growing, panels are getting bigger. We continue. I think we have over 75 Shark Tank companies now. And all that are participating.
Yeah, I love it because I like this actually better in a sense because going to these shows and getting a booth, unless you bring several people, you're there all day. A lot of times I don't even get to see half of the show, a quarter of the show. We're not leaving, but doing this way, you're paying to get in, whatever the cost is, but you don't have to pay that insane price for the booth, but you still get all those advantages of pitching your product and you get to walk around the show.
Right. No, absolutely. And let's get into our show with our guests because this is like we talk about the shows. This is real life now, right? This is someone Maxwell Cohen, our guest with Peelaways. He was on Shark Tank, but he even found himself. I forget that was what 2015 season 7.
Yeah.
Right. He was a kid. I want to say right. And when you look back 7, 8, 9 years of what you've learned now to what you may have done then. It's a whole different game. So with that said, let's bring Maxwell on. I'm glad to have you, Maxwell. I really want to know more about you. Right, to start off, who are you? What do you do? Like how did you come up with Peelaways?
I'm from New York City. I come from a very entrepreneurial family. We were pushed to start businesses before we turned 27. So we've always felt like entrepreneurs. And being an entrepreneur is a whole different story. But I believe everybody should at least think like an entrepreneur. So when I was in college, at the University of Arizona, I noticed my friends, including myself, hated and barely washed our sheets. And it was because it was a hassle. It was always it was always in the back of our mind of something that we know we have to do. But we pretty much never did it. So I said to myself with the entrepreneurial spirit that I've always had, saying, it's the 21st century. There has to be an easier way.
Well, it's funny. I was going to say, I don't wash my sheets either. I just peel them away.
And so over the years, we've come up with 32 iterations of the product. And, you take any marketing,
32
iterations. Yup.
It wasn't like, oh, I came up with an idea, I'm going to sell 10 million, and I'm rich now, right? It doesn't work like that.
I mean, the world that we live in, you could go more viral than ever, but it doesn't mean success. Viral is sometimes like a virus. It's good, bad, bad, good. But it doesn't work like that. I've been building this business for about 6, 7, 8 years now. When I went on the show, I was just a young lad, and it was right after college. I just had a few prototypes with me. Most people don't even know I only had one working prototype, and it was the one that was really on the bed. The ones that I showed the sharks when they asked to see an example of it, it was like my fourth iteration of the one that was good enough. And so you see them like picking it apart and such. And I wasn't an expert in my field yet. We were just discussing.
It
I
is
was
Shark Tank
simply,
Secrets
yeah.
Revealed live.
Yeah, I was just an inventor. I had a clever idea, and I got to the first stage out of 50. And when it comes to doing PR and marketing, and especially Shark Tank, it's not your timeline. It's whatever timeline you hopped on, and everything happens really slow and it happens really quick. Getting onto the show, I waited in downtown LA, saw there was an open casting call, waited online with the 800 other entrepreneurs wanting to pitch their products, and I got my 30 seconds to shine. And I believe it was 90 days to about 100 days after, you get an email saying, you know what, we love you to send in a real pitch video. And ask me how many times I recorded that. We recorded that video. I was going through my phone about 60, 70 times until we got the one that we wanted. And editing back then wasn't nearly as simple as it is today. So it was kind of just one full take. And I put that video in, and about 7 months later, we got a call saying, we want to fly you out to, actually I had to pay for it, but we want you to fly out to Culver City. And at that time, I was still iterating on the product. So I only had the fourth iteration. And by that time, I was up to about the 7th iteration. And what does that mean? That means I made the product smarter and faster and started becoming smarter in my industry. But I was still naive and still wouldn't even call myself an expert, just breaking into it. And then I realized, what industry am I actually in? I sell bed sheets, but I am in the textile industry. So I went and learned as much as I possibly can about textiles. I went to the closest hospitals to see what they were using, just so I could start with something that's already, high end, and something that, the medical facilities are using already, opposing to have to switch in the future. And I created a product, and the product I brought on Shark Tank, I look back at it now, that product was a 6.5 out of 10, if not a little higher, closer to a 7. So something I was incredibly proud to bring on the show. And I valued the business at $500,000. If anybody's listening today, that's the minimum value you could ever put on any business, because you have to have enough business to either sell to investors or, to raise debt on and such things like that. And so I went on the show. I thought I had a wonderful, brilliant idea, pretty much still in the idea stage. And it didn't go according to what I believe was going to happen. But it was a wonderful experience. I learned so much. They said, go the institutional route. They said, make the product softer. And I took all of that into account. Some of the advice over the years was excellent. Some turned out to, iterate into new projects in better directions. But the product today is Peelaways. We changed the name of the business from AFreSHeet, which I thought was clever at the time, which was Fresh and Sheet shared the SH, and it was fun. But after the show, I learned that many people couldn't pronounce it correctly. And so I looked at my business, and I looked at, everything that I've put together, marketing materials, and I said, you know what? We have to change the name of this company. We have to rebrand the company to something pretty literal. So I changed it to Peelaways. What is it? It's a Peelaways. It's one fitted bed sheet with 5 incredibly soft, 100% waterproof peel away layers. Since the show, the product went from being, about a 6.5 out of 10 softness. Now we're probably about a 9 out of 10 softness. When we were on the show, the product was only water resistant. Now the product uses a breathable, waterproof, 100% waterproof membrane. And the markets that we were going after originally have iterated into a whole new market that we didn't even think about. I was just a kid when I started the business, and I was going after markets I was familiar with: college students, summer camps, young men who hate washing their sheets. But 7 years later, we found where the people that need our product. We sell our product to caregivers. We sell our products to potty training. We sell the product now all over the world to institutions, senior care homes, long-term care facilities, sleep labs. We're working with cruise ships, hotels. So sometimes when your original vision of the product, if not all the time, ends up, as you get smarter in the industry, the product gets smarter, your customers start telling you what they want. You start iterating it towards your customers. For example, we got rid of the elastic in our product because it's made out of latex. And we learned that, there's a bunch of latex allergies out there when it comes to these type of institutional sales. So we switched it over to a nitrile. So you learn a lot. You learn who your customers are. Now we sell to this, 51 million caregivers in the US. And on top of that, everything's about timing as well. So the America's old, the world's getting older, more people are getting into becoming caregivers that are family members that aren't professional caregivers. And that's the people that need our product. And that's showing what our best success has been. 7 years later, I like to joke around. I'm a 7-year overnight success. But, I have a joke that the longer you're in business, the longer you're in business. And there's no such thing as a mistake as long as you learn and get smarter.
Boy, I tell you what, man, like I already know that you blew this up, but now to listen to you say it, right? Like the level that you brought it to. So here's what I always find, because you said it earlier, like changing the name, that's a big branding and marketing change, right? Then you've got some things you did which you thought were good, right? And you still rated it pretty good, but now you look back. This is kind of my background with lean, right? You always take before and after state photos. But where do you have to check your ego, right? Because a lot of people say, I'm not changing it. I want that color. Or I need that name. I did it for a reason. And they don't realize sometimes for the bigger and the betterment of the product, maybe the name change is better. Maybe to make some small changes would help and give you an opportunity to be in a broader market. So how did you approach that? Because I think you have to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And when you listen to your consumer, or your experts, you just become a better individual, and with that became a better product, apparently, right?
Absolutely. So once you realize what industry you're actually in, I was in the textile industry, so I learned everything about textiles. I went to every textile trade show, and I learned, the iterations were essentially changing the fabrics that I was using. And when I was on the show, it was 100% polyester. Now we use an amazing blend that is softer than your 400 count cotton. And I learned that, when you first start a business, there's emotion. And this is where I almost feel like a second time founder in my own business when I had this epiphany. Take the emotion out of it. Your business is not your baby. Your business is a business. We're here to make money. I hate not to sound like Mr. Wonderful, but we are capitalists. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure you have margins and customers, and you have to make sure you could learn as much as you can from your customers. I started this business, on a whim as an inventor, but now, I took the emotion out of the business. I became a CEO, and without that emotion and just, saying whatever's best for the business. And that's where the name change came in. I thought it was clever. AFreSHeet. It sounds cool. It's a fresh sheet. But a lot of people couldn't pronounce it, understand it, and it didn't click with so many people. So I changed the name to Peelaways, which is something very literal. The way I look at it, it's almost like the word Band-Aid, where I believe it's called a medical bandage or something. But if you ask for a medical bandage, you're going to ask for a Band-Aid. Whether it's a different brand that's not actually Band-Aid, you're still going to ask for a Band-Aid. So I came up with the conclusion that Peelaways is going to be the best name for the business. The URL was open, which was a wonderful start to changing the name of the business. But, we still use the name AFreSHeet here and there. I still own the URL. It still redirects. Some people still refer to me, as you see over AFreSHeet and such. But the emotional change, get the emotion out of business. We're just here to make our customers as happy as possible, obtain more customers, retain customers. Those are my favorite customers that, join our subscription business. And then, you have to get belly to belly with your customers. You could ask your family, your friends, what do you think of my product, my business, my idea? But, for all you know, they're just going to be super nice to you and, and then make you feel good. But if you have a paying customer, learn as much as you can from them. They're the ones who took money out of their pocket, their hard-earned money, and bought your product. And so I got belly to belly with my customers. I realized that potty training and caregivers, two things I know nothing about, ended up being my best customers and my most successful side of my business. We were selling to institutions, but when COVID hit, everything changed. And so we switched over to direct to consumer. And when we were going direct to consumer, you learn through data and analytics, who are these best customers? And it turned out we doubled down on the caregivers that we weren't specifically going after. We wanted to get the home runs. We wanted to get into all the institutions, and it was happening. It was working. But then, crazy world circumstances, you have to iterate. You have to pivot your business plan. Your business plan is a living thing. Your budget is a living thing. Nothing is static in business. And if you're gonna not get smarter every day, I promise you, you will get left behind.
Max, I love to hear you say you made a pivot. So let's talk about that just a little bit. So after the show, obviously you had some recognition, right? You got some sales, but you also felt name wasn't right. You took into effect some of the feel of it, right? Made it better. So then how did you go after all these new customer bases? Everyone says, how do I was just on Shark Tank. Can't get a bigger audience than that. How did you, when you finally realized, you said, okay, I'm in textile. Who needs this product?
Yeah.
Well, when was that moment? And then how did you go about really getting that whole new customer base?
The truth is, on Shark Tank, I didn't actually have any product to really sell when the products when it aired, because everything either goes really quick or really slow. So when it aired, it happened a lot quicker than expected. I couldn't get the first versions of the first shipment in, and then I got the shipment in time, and it turns out it was not right. The product wasn't perfect. And then also at that time, I only sold two sizes. I only had a cot size and a twin XL size, summer camps, college students. I was very lucky that the twin XL size is the standard hospital size bed, which ended up working in my favor, but not on purpose. So there's always sometimes good things that happen, without you actually planning for them, of course. But after that, I just took as many emails as I could get. That was all we could do. When people collect data, we just collect emails so we could pound those customers when we're in stock. And then we started asking those customers, or wannabe customers, they would have been customers, but we really didn't have much product when it aired. What would you like to see? Why are you using this? And what would you use it for other circumstances than your first reason? And they said, we want to use it in our RVs. We want to use it for summer camps. We want to use it for our potty training toddlers. We think this is a wonderful product for caregivers. And so we knew we had to make the product softer if babies and elderly are going to be on it. So that really made me work as hard as possible to come up with the greatest blend. But the way I learned about these blends and the way I made all these relationships was going to trade shows, flying out to China, doing what needs to be done, even if it's a little expensive and even if it's a little time consuming. Working with the right people, learning. That's what's so wonderful about what you guys are putting together. You guys are concentrating the rightest people in like one petri dish. It's insane, because I traveled the world to meet 10 different types of folks that you seem to have 9 out of 10 all in one room. And those opportunities are amazing. There's no better opportunity to speak to a merchant. We got into Bed Bath and Beyond. I've been in the Walmarts, in the Walgreens of the world. And those are different stories, because those that's not easy business. It sounds cool getting nationwide into these businesses.
Until you get your first PO.
Exactly. And then you get your first PO and you've never done this much, and then somebody has to upfront all this cash, and then of course there's a problem, and then they have their expectations, and then everything goes. Then you have to get it to sell off the shelves and keep every relationship as squeaky clean, as greased up as possible, but everything around you is falling apart.
Everything you want to know about retail in 10 seconds, you just said it.
So, everything's nothing.
Hey, we lost him.
Yeah, I know.
That's all right.
Oh, we would have to edit it. I hate.
Go.
And on the retail, Maxwell, right? That's everyone thinks it's a dream, right? But we know it's a lot of work. It's intense. And man, if you're not prepared to ship to retail, you'll be out of business as fast as you shipped it to them.
And you put all this money up front, you have all these expectations, getting nationwide in this 9,600 stores sounds so much cooler than it is. Because when you get into these stores, you have to do your research and development, but all of these stores, it's their game, their arena with their refs. So, you have to play in ball with them. And when you go into a CVS or any of these major retailers, I think 80% of all the products are 9 companies, the P&Gs, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever. I believe they're most of the shelf space. And they have the operations to do stuff like this. But when you're just one product, but we do all sizes, Crib the King now, which is really helped the business expand, because when we were on Shark Tank, it was just 2 sizes. It's a whole different arena. You have to sign up for SPS Commerce. You have to become amazing at logistics and shipping. You have, your tariffs are expensive. All the buybacks, the dings, the payment terms, the net 60, the net 90. Then there's all these chargebacks. And then you have to have essentially a full-time employee on each one of these retailers. And that costs astronomical amounts. You have to get certain type of insurance. It's a never-ending game. So my advice, and we spoke about it before, and it's actually very admirable, where you have the opportunity to go nationwide in all stores. But I, in retrospect, would say, give me 800 of your best home care stores, right? We've gone to these retailers. Some of them have an extra 4 feet in the home care section. And those are the ones that I would, in retrospect, say, put me in those stores. Those are the most relevant for a product like mine. And start, still big. Start 800 stores and then work your way up. Biting off more than you could chew. These cliches end up being more true than possible.
I think you're so right about the retail side of it. Like, everyone thinks, oh my God, I'm getting into Walmart, until they start saying, I haven't got paid in 90 days. Oh yeah, you got to start chasing them for your money. Oh yeah, and the check is supposed to be 100,000. It's only 85,000 because you have buybacks and credit issues that you didn't know about, or you shipped a product but it didn't show up, but they don't give you credit for it. Mink all day long. You gotta have D&Bs, which are $1,500 a year. People go, what's that? Oh, insurance, liability, yeah, that's another grand. What? All this. And then I think you're right. 800 is huge. You want to start out, because not every store represents your product the best. Let's get into ones that sell through, right? That's the most important thing. Selling the product through and getting a reorder. Then you can start building the awareness and the brand and grow it into the other stores. There's so much to consider.
Yeah. And the older and smarter I got, I realized we're in the margins business. And it's not cool working with the largest retailer if your margins are less than 15, 18%. We want to make sure we have margins to cover all those dings and dangs, because if you were expecting 100K and you only got paid 83, you just made nothing.
Yeah, and they're already taking 40, 45% before you sell one unit, right?
Exactly. And then, the emotion of getting into the store, and then the emotion of not being able to stay on the shelves. Some of these stores require you to buy real estate on their shelves. I've paid $175,000 to be on the certain store's shelf. And after I looked into it, I realized that's actually the business they're in. They don't care if you're successful or not in some of these stores. They just want that original payment. And it doesn't guarantee you that spot forever. And then, as you were saying, some stores, each state in America has a different vibe. Each state has different people with different needs and different thinking. And so we wanted to target the stores that they knew needed a larger home care section, opposed to just getting into every single store. And, it's all about margins, direct to consumer. Somebody was telling me my net margin is, I go, no, that's called your gross margin. And by the end of the day, you're negative after all said and done. So just make sure, you don't have to become an accountant or a CFO, but you need to be able to speak the language and at least put something down on paper that makes some sense. Because when I first started, I would take any customer essentially at any price. And then once we started realizing, oh my God, we're just churning our wheels and we're skidding out. We're barely making anything, if not losing money. And the opportunities are so cool to say you own the major retailers, but I pulled my products out of these retailers because during the pandemic, when when shipping costs went up so dramatically, we didn't have any cushion in our margins. And so we kept the business for 6 to 8 months during the pandemic, even with all the supply chain issues. I had a container fall off a ship. Somebody has to pay for that. And that just, the emotion does come back in because everything is falling apart and burning around you. But that's the difference between a CEO and just the founder of a business. We make it work. If you ask me what business I'm in, I am in the margins and making it work business.
Yeah, and that comes back to what I said earlier. Know what you're good at, right? Like you're an inventor, and you've never run a business, even in corporate America or your own. It's very different just coming up with an idea that you've now launched into a product. There's so much more that has to happen to make it real, right? To realize it and get it to people see it. And then after all that, right? Even when you're in retail, you gotta bring traffic there, right? People need to know where it is. Need to know that you're selling this product, where it is in the store. So that whole marketing plan. So yeah, I think there's a difference of being an inventor, entrepreneur versus really running a company, even if it's a single product, running a company, because that requires a lot of skill sets. And I think if you overlook that, you're doomed, because you got to go back to what are you good at and what are you not good at. You better get somebody to help you.
And on top of all of that, I'm running an Amazon store, a Shopify store. I have wholesale customers. And so I said to myself, the retailers sound cool, but we're going to eliminate them because the other sides of my business are more profitable, easier on the eyes, also have massive of their own challenges. When you work with Amazon, when you're doing Shopify, you do your own fulfillment, you do your own customer service. There's a lot of moving pieces, but as a CEO and founder, sometimes the shiny objects are the ones that blind you. And there's nothing wrong with pulling back out of these retailers. I did. Our Amazon sales were skyrocketing as my retail sales were a pain in my tush just to acquire the whole process of the business. So you in today's environment, it's easier than ever to start a business. When I built that website after Shark Tank 10 years ago, I had to hire engineers. I had to get WooCommerce. I had to do flagship, to credit cards. So now it's more simple than ever, but that's good and bad. That means there's smaller barrier to entry, which means more people in it, but it also means it's cheaper than ever to start a business. And in retrospect, if I started this business today, it would have taken me 24 months to get it to where it is today, just because I've been there, I've done that. The shiny objects are no longer shiny until the money's in my bank account. So, and then you even building a team out, having employees is another full-time job. There's a lot of emotion in that. You're almost like a therapist. And then I have investors on top of all of this that, they're pushing your buttons here and there and here. But I've learned revenue, margins solve all problems. But it's about keeping it up. It's not growth at all cost anymore. It's about being profitable. I know that's a very weird word that got skewed over the past 6-7 years, but being profitable, there's nothing sexier and there's nothing harder. You have to keep your expenses low, but you can't be cheap. And you have to just, take on extra responsibilities by, firing an employee or, hiring overseas. I know that's, not what anybody specifically wants to hear. It's negotiating with your manufacturers. It's finding a second manufacturer. You always want to have triple redundancy on everything you're up to. You always want to have ammo in your back pocket just in case something happens. And then as a founder, and you guys, you have your Rolodexes over the years that you've built, but I didn't have a Rolodex when I first started. I didn't have people that I immediately trusted, if no ifs, ands, or buts. Now, you need this, I got somebody for you. You need a lawyer, I got the best. You need somebody to help you get into retail, I know a guy. You need a marketer or a PR firm? I know a woman. Now I have my trusted colleagues. But when you're first starting your business, you have to build your Rolodex, because to sift through the 100 people that I've worked with to continue working with the 9 that I have today, I've gotten beat up on every single corner, with black eyes and scars. But that's what makes you stronger, if you could come out and have the will to come out on the other side.
And one thing I always talk about, and Carmine knows, is I'm a lean guy, right? So I'm all about structure, foundation, because it's the most important thing. And it starts with the people you work with, having the right people who have the same and aligned vision and goals that you have. If you can show them what the future looks like, put a beautiful system in place, train them to work in the system, they'll do things they never thought they can accomplish. And I'm living proof of that. I've done it at BMW, done it at Ford, done it at some smaller companies. We had the best time, the most fun, and we really enjoyed working together. And that alone just makes the journey so much fun. So let's close out the show by one last thing. What would you tell the audience? Like maybe some really strong, good advice for them. I mean, we talked a lot about it, but what would you give them to walk away from today? The best advice you can give them in your journey of the last 10 years?
Be fully real with yourself. You are in the business of making money. This is not a philanthropy business. I don't do this for just to have something to do every day. Learn the vocab of everything, whether it's being in retail, whether it's being international business. I have to talk to people that English is their second language or third language. So you have to slow down your language and, learn how people communicate, learn the lingo, go to trade shows and get smarter at those trade shows. Collect as many data points as you can, which is essentially emails. Have a $100 Amazon giveaway card or something like that. But the answer is, if you believe in what you're doing, keep on keeping on and get smarter every day. There's no such thing as a problem. They're just hurdles. You got to jump over them no matter what. And if you have customers, learn as much as you can from your customers. Avoid shiny objects, but use them to your advantage. Double down on relationships that have been wonderful. Give credit where credit is due. Throw your ego, your greed, and your envy out the window. We are here to build our own legacies. We're here to make our customers happy. Do not start a business because you want to have flexibility and do things on your own time. I work 24/7, 365. I am a mortar to I worship my customers. I worship my amazing relationships. I'm up in the middle of the night, 5 a.m. sometimes, negotiating. Get rid of the bad business, find new good business. As you can see, it can't just be one thing. Business, there's so many moving pieces that you just have to make sure you keep everything greased up. Or if the moving piece is getting in your way, just throw it away, move on, find a new one, iterate on your idea, iterate on your business. Your business is a living thing. And do it because you believe in what you're doing. Don't do it to make money. The money and all the success will come as you build your own journey and your own legacy.
So Carmine, Maxwell said the best. I had like points that I had down and he hit every single one of them. Like problems are treasures in my business, right? In my world, when we see a problem, that's a place to actually fix and make more money, right? To improve the process, to make everybody happier. So, I mean, once you realize why you're doing it, and you're right, don't chase the money, chase the happiness, chase the joy it brings you. The money will always come. Like I always say, like be around people you like. Don't be around people that argue and fight with you all the time. Or have these big egos. Be with people who see change and be the change and deliver it. Because at the end of the day, if for you to stay in business, you have to continually change. That's it. There's no question about it. And when you continue to improve, you fix the bottom line. If you got shareholders and investors, all of that matters to everyone because they're only in it for the cash, right? So that's the most important thing in the end. But I mean, we enjoy what we're doing, Maxwell. Thank you so much. I mean, the information you gave today and your background and what you've done with your business is over the top. Really, really proud of you, man. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Quick plug, Peelaways.com. We have some wonderful things in the works that are actually working. So we're so excited for the future, and it's so wonderful meeting you guys. And I'm so excited to check out your next show. And I'm so happy for your success.
Thank you. You'll be invited to all of them, so you
Oh,
get to
yeah.
pick whatever ones you want to be on. How's that?
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Maxwell,
you,
it's
man.
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem. This has been great. For all you listeners out there, if you want to meet up with Maxwell, come to one of our shows, jump online, make sure you go out and check out his products. It would be great, Max, to have some of our listeners come on out to the shows and meet up with you, ask you questions. It would be a lot of fun. And same thing, Chris, I had a whole bunch of questions listed out and he just rattled them off, man. He's hitting all the points. So I just sat back and listened. It was awesome.
Real life experiences from successful entrepreneurs. End of the day, you can't make it up.
Yeah.
When you go through it and you live it, it becomes real.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I've
So
been
all
doing
you
this for
listeners out
10
there, we
years.
appreciate you. Please go on out, subscribe to our show, leave a rating, leave a review, and send us a note. Let us know what you need help with, what you want to hear about. Maybe who is your favorite Shark Tank guest who's been on, and we'll bring them on the show and let them tell you what their journey has been like. So for Maxwell, for Christopher, for myself, Carmine, we thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on the Shark Tank Effect. You all take care.